Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Today is Tech Tuesday and we are going to put in a 6-speed on a Road King from 2003. It actually runs really well. I'm very happy with it and I've been that over the years. But I think it's time for a little bit of an upgrade, maybe get more mileage out of it and so forth, and actually enjoy a 6-gear when I go on my touring trips. So the Road King is already updated with a whole bunch of other stuff, but now we're going to put in a different transmission. So stay with me and I'll get this thing sorted out, hopefully within the next few hours, and I hope you'll be able to go ahead and get some benefit out of it, and maybe to try it yourself, or I can inspire somebody to do the same thing as well. So this is how we start. So here's my frozen bearing, and if we are lucky, it'll fit straight in now. Close. We'll just take the other bearing on here and close. We'll just take the other bearing on here and then the small blow hammer, and that'll install it and seal it. You can hear it when it's there. It changes completely sound. Oh, let's get it back in again. There we go, all set, installed. We are with the other one. We gotta make sure it's completely clean. It's cold as well, and that's the one that goes in right here. So we're gonna try to fit that. Came straight out of the freezer as well, and then I think that's about there. A little bit more and we're done. So that's how that's put in there now. All back in sealed. So now the new gearbox is almost ready to come back in again. Should be fine. But another snap ring in, a big one, the new one. Looks like this, and it needs to have a big pair of snap ring pliers like this, otherwise it's not going to be able to get in there. So make sure you do that. So here is the drive shaft, just taken out of the freezer as well. So we're going to see if we can get that installed. It should shrink a little bit by being in the freezer, so with a little bit of luck I think we can push it through here, and then it should be installed. I got this little bit of a tool here that I'm going to put through, and then we're going to tighten it up and it should be fitting straight into place. Here's the bearing installed and also the new drive shaft. It's a little bit harder than you think, but just take your time like you normally do as well anyway. Don't rush it because you might destroy something, but it's seated now, and it's really nice actually. Now, since this is a 2003 Road King, the models from 2004 and newer, they have a bushing here that needs to be cut by 1/4 of an inch. So I've just marked it. I don't know if you can see it on there, but I've actually just marked it. There's a little bit of a mark right there, and that's what I'm going to cut off. That way the shifter ball can actually go all the way in and you'll be located correctly. So that's what we're going to do now, and for that purpose I'm using a Dremel 4300 with just this little cutter on the end. trying to assemble the shifter itself. The old one is here, looks a little different, and then the new one is over here, and that's the one it comes in a set. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put these pieces together nice and dandy, and then it's ready to be put over and checked out in the bike. So as I'm grinding out, this is the new drum, shifter drum that goes in here, and that's the shifter pawl itself. As you can see, I cut off the bushing over here, but I haven't cut off enough. That's why I'm measuring out, see how much it is, and as it looks right now, it's a few millimeters to go. So I'll go ahead and take it all out again and cut some more off. So you just keep on putting in, every time you cut a little bit off there, it should be about a 1/4 inch you cut off the bushing down there. But every time you take it off, you just keep on putting in your shifter pawl, and maybe go ahead and install on the other side too with the small snap ring, and then keep on checking that it actually does work, but do it cautiously, like that. Make sure you get everything up. It's kind of hard to film at the same time, but I think you get the idea. To see that you got the amount of free space that is needed when this goes on, so you actually have free space on the shifter drum itself, and so it doesn't grind against the border here. So just make sure it's in between here, halfway, and you should be fine. So once you have that and it's all adjusted, then you're ready to continue, and we're now almost ready to go ahead and put the transmission box back in again. So this is how short mine is. That's how much I had to cut off. If you want, I can put in a small measuring tape so you can have an idea how much I actually did cut off, but here it is in inches. So mine is a little bit more than a quarter, there's a 1/4 of an inch left basically. I could have left a little bit more, I think, but my spring that's on the shifter pawl itself is a little bit bigger than I was expecting, so I just modified it slightly. So this is how it looks like right now. So here we are a little bit further forward again. As you can see, I picked up the Ultima gearbox now, and I'm just trying to see if it actually does fit, and I got the gasket set correctly and everything else, and it looks really nice. All the dowels and everything else is actually installed. It fit right in. Just make sure you lubricate your axles, but also the gears a little bit, and then make sure they're all lined up so they fit straight into the gear drives and everything else, and also into the dowels over there, or the needle bearings. And then once you have that, now you're actually ready to install that part. From now on, make sure you don't drop anything down into the gears, because it would have fatal effects in case you have some problems later on or don't see it. I always put a cloth in there just to make sure it's covered up. Here we are on the workbench. This is the old transmission with the drive here as well. That's now in the bike. This is the 5-speed, and this over here is the 6-speed from Ultima 6 at the moment. We're just gonna go ahead and put up here just to get an overview of where things are gonna go. I already checked this in the bike, and it does fit perfectly, so no problem at all. However, I just want to get the shifter forks and so forth kind of assembled before we do anything else, and that's why I brought the drum up here as well, just to see how things are actually working before we put it all in there. On the other hand, there's also a few magnetos. This is a magneto like this, like a chip detector. There's an extra one as far as I can see in this case, and there are also some other things that might be worth to put in, because the old one has the dowel over here. There's also one sitting in the engine block. The new one does not have any on both sides, so the dowel we got to put in is this one right here. It's also provided with a set. It goes in over this side over here. We have to squeeze it and put it in, so I'll do that in a second, just to give you an overview of what you got to work with. On top of that, there are also a few other things, like here on the other side. You'll see here will be a small adjustment screw as well for a piece that goes into the shifters as well, and that has to be adjusted with the hex key here as well. So we'll have a look at that, and one of the chip detectors goes in down there. So so far, just to get the overview over it, this is what we're looking at, and let me go ahead and get this all put together and see how it looks like when we get the drum on the top here before we assemble all the other stuff. So here we are trying to do the dowel installation initially, and that's basically what we're going to put in on this side. Make sure you get the right hole. There's only 2 of them, so make sure it's the right one so you don't have to take it out again. It's important. I'm just going to squeeze this slowly, and then it should fit, if I'm lucky, straight in here. You can see I've now put the dowel in there. I had to go ahead and do a little bit of modification. I think it was the wrong one, might have been a metric to an imperial, so I put up in the vise over here, and then I was grinding a little bit more off with the Dremel. So I put that maybe 2-3 millimeters, if that we're talking about, only a little bit, and then I could actually squeeze it so much that it's in there. Now it's stuck, so now I can keep track of the gasket. So that's I was actually considering not to put it in, but now it's there and it's gonna sit there forever. Now back to the assembly of the gearbox itself. I would like to assemble it with all the shifter forks and so forth, just to check that it works, and also with the drum as well. So I have an idea once it goes on the bike where to put it, because once I put on the racer on the other side, the box is basically stuck onto the bike, so that's basically important. So what do we have here? Well, we got a few things that might be interesting. This goes through right here and keeps one of the forks for this shifter right there, that gear right there, and it looks like it's supposed to have a small O-ring on this side as well. However, the O-ring was not provided in the set, so what I'll do is I'll put the O-ring on. I have the one myself put back in there, and it has the wrinkles in there, so you can always screw in it and pull it back out. Now, by this being put in here, goes right here, like that. To lock it in place, you got this knot that you can put in afterwards, and I'm going to put some kind of floating seal on there as well, probably gasket marker or something like that, probably the red gasket marker, to make sure that it doesn't have any leaks, but it shouldn't, since I put the O-ring on there as well. Once that is all put in, I'm going to start nice and dandy. I'm just going to screw it in my fingers here, that's easier, because that way the O-ring will follow the wrinkles inside of the area. And that works actually pretty good. Cool. We'll go ahead and get that back out again, so that works. Then I will put the first shifter in place, shifter fork in place. That is this one. And that works actually quite nice. Cool. And then I can screw it in with this one. Whoops. Without pushing it. If I just push it in there right now, the O-ring is going to be destroyed in the wrinkles, and I don't want that, because I want to make sure that I actually do have complete seal to the oil later on, otherwise it's going to look terrible after a few 100 miles. There we go. Then I can screw this back out again, and now that's basically installed. And I guess, let me just see here like this. Now this can be checked. I'm not going to tighten it up yet, because I'm going to do this on the bike. I'm just going to see how it works as it comes in, and this works actually kind of beautiful too, so that's all right. Let's go ahead and continue with the forks. This is the dowel pin that goes through here, keeps the other forks on here as well, and it goes into the casing on the other side in the bike. So let's go ahead and try them on as well. They should be here, something like this, and then we're gonna go something like, if we're lucky, it should be fine. It should be finding its own place all the way through. And then this one here, there we are. Now I'll put the dowel pin a little bit further in. So now these dowels that are there should fit up into the drum that comes in on the other side. So, and this part fits into that little area right there. I'm gonna put this out of gear, so it's actually in neutral right now. If I can get it back in, there we go. And then having this thing here in neutral might actually help you as well. And this is in neutral, you see it over here as well. So by putting it on, here we are, and there we are, and last one, there we go. It should fit pretty much straight forward like that, and now you can see that it's working, and that's how it's supposed to go onto the bike. So now I'm actually more or less ready to put it into the bike, and I can see right now that it's gonna work. Once it comes in, of course the shift arm comes on here, but that means that now I'm more confident than I was before. The new drain hole block is actually this one, and it is a magnet. It's also a chip detector, a new place to go ahead and drain oil if you want, but that goes in the bottom all the way down here, so it goes straight in there, and that actually more or less completes it. And then the last part is actually the clutch. We're going to put that in later, but this is how the gearbox in the end is going to go into the bike. I hope that kind of explains it a little bit. Now while you're actually doing this and watching it, you might want to go ahead and hit the like, subscribe button on notification bell, and then I'll come up with more videos and you'll know when I actually come up with it as well, and that'll help everybody else as well, including me. I hope you understood a little bit of it, and will enjoy the rest of the video. Since I have it all assembled here and just took the drum off, I'll take out the dowel in the middle here that keeps the forks in place. Once I have it out, I'm going to go ahead and put the forks back on in the way they were working right here. That way I don't have to worry about it when I put it into the bike a little bit later on. Here we go. Now I know that these are in the right order and also actually hang in the right direction. And this one is going to be kind of the only one that's a little bit odd here, so that should be okay. But I'm going to take that out too, because it won't go in with all this stuff. It might actually go in, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in whenever it's in the bike, I think. So we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong in this, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm not, so we'll give it a shot. Okay, sorry. Before you get ready to install anything, make sure you run a magnet over everything, just to make sure you get all kinds of small debris that might have been falling in there, so you get a complete sterile environment for the installation. Back on the casing, I'm going to go ahead and block off my speed sensor point, which is right here. That screw is now put in there, and the plug is now a reality. Transmission case. First thing I'll put in is actually the shifter pole, and the reason for that is there is no space once you get it all done, so it goes back into the place over here first, and then I just took one dowel out over here and put it in here to keep track of the gasket whenever, and I'm actually putting in all the different bolts that's going to keep it in there in position. So basically I just want to make sure that everything is actually looking as I'm expecting, with the amount of wrinkles on the other side as well. So basically that's been installed. I put the original screw from the Harley in here, and the set that was with the or the plug that was with the set is actually already now installed over on the Harley. The drain plug is installed, should be sealing up, so now it's just a matter of taking it out, and now I'll actually install everything into the transmission case itself. Watch out when you put it in. You might lubricate your axle a little bit. That makes it easy to get through the needle bearings over on the other side. Make sure you do not destroy the gasket. It requires a little bit of precision here, and also a little bit of concentration, as you can probably see. Now put the dowel on here, so I should be able to get it through nice and dandy. Here we are. Get all these bolts out. Right into the bushings in there, and then it slides nice and dandy right in its place. So if it does that, it is supposed to be fitting in by hand. No hammers or anything is needed. I'm just going to height tighten a few of these to make sure that the gasket is actually sealed correctly, and it seems like it. And then let's try the top one here as well. Here we go. It looks quite okay. So now we can continue with Loctite. Let's see if I can get them all into place, and then from there on we'll tighten them up to the specifications in there as well. I believe they're between 15 foot-pounds and 9 foot-pounds, so it's not like a whole bunch. Use red Loctite, that's recommended. It's the high temperature model, so that's what we're going to do as well. We can continue with the installation on the top. So now, since we have a hole up here that we need to take care of, I'm going to put a completely clean cloth in there, because I don't want anything, washers or whatever might be come around, tools or even the hex keys, to fall into that place. I just want to keep that sterile for a little bit, and then we can take it out when we need it. Red Loctite, don't overdo it, but just give it a little bit. And so this is how it's gonna look like when we're done, more or less. These bolts that goes in here, you have to make sure they fit. This is just a pre-fit without putting anything in, no Loctite, no tightening up so far. I just want to make sure that all these different bolts are actually in the right places because they got different length and so forth as well. Once you have that done, then you're ready to go ahead and take it apart, save every single one of them, and then you can go ahead and tighten up with the red Loctite. So here we are, just to make sure everything is actually turning correctly. Drive shaft over there right now, just keep turning. Right now we're turning it on the drive shaft, and you can see it's in neutral right now, so I should be able to keep that gear. Basically the shaft is now turning, and it'll transfer power this way through and over there. So if I start with the first one to keep track of them, there you go, any sequence, now it's actually turning. Whatever speed it's in right now, I can only guess, I'm not 100% sure, but that doesn't matter. That worked. Make sure it turns back out again. Now we're back in neutral. Yeah, I'll take another one, and here we go. I'll put that one over there, and now we're back to. And then you listen for weird sounds or anything that's gonna grind or whatever. That looks really nice too. So that was that one. Let's go into a different one. There we go. There we go. That works beautiful. And let's go ahead and go back to neutral, and you check by holding the drive. There you go. Yeah. And then we take the last one here, we bring that in, or one more here. That works beautiful, and there's no miss sounds. Let's go ahead and flip that over on the next one. And now it's actually in 6th. That works beautiful. So I'm gonna take this one here. Now we're in 1st speed. And it works beautiful. And let's go with this one. Hang on. There you go. And 2nd, so that's fine. So all gears are actually working beautiful. Can you turn a little bit more? And now we're back into neutral. Everything's working fine. We're ready to continue. So I'll put the cloth back in there, and we can start assembling the box. Okay, finished off out here, and all the bolts that are sitting around here are now torqued up to specs. I'm just going to drop an oil droplet on every single gear that I have in here, because it might be the last time I see them, because then we're going to go ahead and put in the shifter drum. Now installing the shifter forks on top of the stuff, and as you can see what I had up on the test bench, this is the order that we have to put them in. So now they're easy to go ahead and put over there. So let's try that. So here comes the first shifter fork. We'll put that over on its place over there. The second shifter fork goes in its place right where we can find it. I hope we can find it somewhere. There. So after putting in all the shifter forks that we have in there right now, that one, we're now ready to put in the rest. So I'll put in the dowel here that takes care of the 3 on one side. If we're lucky, it should be lining up. There we go. And that should be going straight over and across into the hole on the other side. There we are. And it did. So we're lucky on that one. Then we have to put this one in, and that requires Loctite. That goes through here, and it comes through over there, and that's basically where that's going. The Loctite, when you put it on, has to be red Loctite as well. That's going to be a part of the sealing process as well. So you put it in with the wrinkles on the outside, so you can always get it out again in case you need that. So just put some, don't overdo it, but just make sure you have enough for sealing. Let's see here. And then make sure you line it up on the inside. There we go. And once you have that, I'll just punch it in slowly to have that in place. And now you're going to end it up with this part. You could put sealant on here as well, or Loctite, but that's thick as well. It's supposed to go in with 5 foot-pounds. So So it's not a lot, it's just going to lock it. It's going to disappear slightly behind the flush part. There we go, it's now sealed, and that was the click for the top wrench. So here is the gears actually moving. You can test it by moving the pawls nice and easy here for the drum. Now it's actually, you can see over here how fast it's spinning. There you go. And that's actually your first gear, I believe. And then I'll take it out. It's back in neutral, and you can stop this gear while the thing is actually moving. And then, so now it's time to put the drum in. In order to do it nicely, make sure it's over in neutral, and then turn the shifter to neutral. That's that one we have right there, and then it should fit more or less straight down into here. It's fitting completely there, so just take your time with it. Don't rush it in case you have problems. If it doesn't feel right, there's something wrong with it. We just go ahead and back off and try it again. Now before I continue, I put this in first speed because the hole in the drum on first speed is actually a little bit bigger, and that means I have an easy time to get all these shifter forks to fit up into the pattern up here as well. So that works actually quite well. Now basically it's all seated. I have not tightened it down yet. We will, and then I'm gonna run the whole test one more time with first speed all the way up to 6th, and of course I'm going to dump in a little bit of oil up here first so it runs easier, and then I'm listening for tightness, weird kind of sounds, and all that stuff. There shouldn't be no sounds whatsoever in there. We're now almost done. We just need to adjust this a little bit, but I want to finish this over here so I don't forget it. But this goes straight through here, and we'll go ahead and lubricate it a little bit, and then we'll just finish that off, and also with the clutch push rod that goes in here. The push rod that pushes the clutch over is now in, and the big one's in there too, lightly lubricated, and now we're more or less complete on this side. I'm going to go on the other side and continue. Now I'm still on the right side, but I'm going to go ahead and put in the pawl, the shifter pawl adjustment. That's the one goes in right here, and if you can see it, it actually goes through right here, and that's going to go ahead and adjust the pawl itself, so it should be easier, and then I'm going to lock it in position afterwards. To do the shifter adjustment here, or the pawl adjustment, you need to be in 3rd gear, and then it almost fits all the way in, and then you can go ahead and fine adjust it by turning the bolt, and then you counter lock it with a knot after that. That way it's stuck. So here we are on the other side, left side of the bike. This is the adjuster of the shifter pawl. As you can see up there, it actually does move a little bit left and right as you turn it, and that's where you got to go ahead and adjust it. It's in 3rd gear right now. Before I do that, I want to make sure that my shifter pawl is actually in place, so I'm going to install the gaskets right here, and also the other 2 washers that's in here, and also I'm going to put the snap ring on there. Once that's in, then I should have it in place and it won't move. Be easier for me to go ahead and adjust my gears, because I want to have an easy upshift and downshift when I'm driving, so I can enjoy it more when I get out there. So here the gasket is now in and sealed up. I'll put this little washer on there to keep the pressure straight on the area, and then the new ring should be fitting straight on there as well. After that, we put the snap ring on. So the bolts goes back in here. Blue Loctite required. You're not going to tighten them, just hand tighten them initially before you start the adjustments, and that's basically where. So all 4 of those got blue Loctite, and that's where they are. So just medium strength. They're going to be tightened up to 9 foot-pounds. So make sure you check the clearance. I'm in 3rd gear right now, and then the adjustment screw right here is supposed to go ahead and turn, or actually twist the shifter pawl right here, meaning that once you have it in 3rd gear, there should be no room going towards the downshift side, so it should be tight in this case. So you actually just turn this and you counter tighten the screw with the knot outside. Once you have that, then it's actually adjusted. Make sure you check the free play as well in the drum, and then once you have that, it's blue Loctite on all 4 of those and tighten down to 9 foot-pounds, or to the specifications in your manual, and then you're ready to continue. So I continue a little bit here, and I put in this little space here as well. Also before that, it comes in with the seal that goes up here. So seal first, then this one, it has a little bit of an incline on the other side, so the incline goes inwards and then flat on the outside. and that's basically what it is. Now we're getting ready to put in the next seal, and that's going to be coming here, and that should be fitting right like that. So stay tuned. I'm going to put that in with a tool, and then we'll have that sorted. Once completed, it looks like this. It's easier to put in the seal first and then put in the spacer after that. Make sure you got that all sorted. The dowel that the gasket is on here right now, that dowel is taken out of the old one. The other side has no dowel, but one does, just to keep the gasket aligned there. So take your time. Don't destroy the gasket now when you do it, because it's so easy to do. Just take your time and don't rush it. So these bolts that goes in here for the clutch cover, they're different length all the way around. So you'll have to try which one's what. Just make sure when you don't go any further. When it gets tight, then stop back out. Switch it around with the other ones, because one is long, one is very short. This is short as well, and then two long ones up here. So until you get it right, there could be a little bit of a mess when you do it. But just take your time to make sure you get the right ones in, and it takes a little bit of time to get that completed. See, I'm installing an installation here that's a little bit taking the oil filler cap a little bit further out, because there's no this one. So that goes on right there, and that's more or less the end of this side. Just mounted the race here without a tool actually. So what I did was I made my own basically that fits on. It's actually on a ball joint. It works perfectly over here, as you can see, and then it comes nice and dandy straight up to where it's supposed to be, so you can get it off next time if you need it as well. So now we're ready to continue the complete assembly on the primary side, and it looks really promising. So here we are, just about getting ready to adjust the shifter pole. I had to do it one more time. I'm gonna put a little bit of gasket marker on this, because so the gasket just came onto the drum. So now we're gonna move in and we're gonna put the cover on, and once the cover is in, we should be able to tighten that down. There we are, and then all the 6-speed is now actually inside the whole transmission case there now. So that's the end of it basically. So we're just going to continue. Now the gasket marker is actually on the wrinkles, as you can see right there, and now it's ready to be put back in. Well, remembering your frustrations once in a while, to go ahead and make sure you stay hydrated, and it is taking a little bit more time than you probably would have expected, but enjoy. Well, we're back at the test bench. As you guys can see, I just took the primary side up here. I'm just going to clean up everything that's before it gets back on the bike. So I'm going to change the gaskets on the other side on this one as well, and change new gaskets here as well. So this goes through complete cleanup now, and also on the outer side, or which will basically be the inner side. So you can see it's kind of dirty. So that's going to be looking very nice and new when I'm done with this. So that's the next project for today. So while you're at the primary side as well, I just took out the gaskets here for the main basically, and got myself a whole new gasket set. So now we're gonna put in new gaskets here. You'll regret if it starts leaking oil, just because you made a whole new gearbox and everything else, and you didn't go ahead and change your gaskets. Just getting ready to get the drive back on together again. So and make sure you're also put it the right way. You see there's like a little bit of a like what do you call it, like a washer on this side as well, and that's the one you got to put in this case. Back in the dry belt all sorted out, using the special tool where you actually screw this one on here like that. Keep protecting your axle, put that back on in here, there we go, and then you just tighten it up. Make sure you got the right tension afterwards as well. You can check it down here if you want to, or use the Harley belt tensioner as well. It might be a good idea to get one of those, and then make sure that the rear wheel runs absolutely straight as well. It depends on what model you got. So tighten up to specifications, and you can continue. It has the special tool on there. It has to be tightened to specifications. In my case, we're looking between 55 and 65 foot-pounds, and it should be ready. The lock nut on here is going to keep it in place. There we go. Now when you're assembling this, I put a little bit of liquid gasket on here as well, just to make sure everything's actually completely tight, because I don't want it to leak anywhere. Make sure you check your primary here in the front as well on all the magnetos, and the reason why I'm saying that, it could have picked up all kinds of debris while you're having your attention somewhere else, and if you have something sitting in here, it's going to have devastating consequences afterwards. So just make sure you do a thorough check before you collect it and before you actually assemble everything. And the same thing, of course, with the wheel. The flywheel that goes on top of it has magnetos in there as well, so those magnets, make sure they're completely clean. Gasket marker on here, so now the shifter is coming back on. I got some gasket marker on this side as well, just to make sure I don't have any oil spillage later on coming out from the bolts or any of the washers that's put in there as well. So just check that, or double check that, just to make sure. It'll be a pity if it starts leaking. So guys, Tech Tuesdays is almost getting to an end here. So right now it looks like we're getting better and better and closer to finishing up the project. Got the shifter arm on so far. Now we're just needing the chain and also a little bit on the starter. Make sure you torque these bolts up you got in here to the specs. In my case, it's between 18 and 20 foot-pounds. I put up to 20 in this case, because I want to make sure. And also I put in some gasket marker as well, because I don't want it to leak through these holes either. So that should be taking care of that part. Now, make sure you check for any debris or bolts, nuts, washers, whatever it might be, also behind the magnetos. I normally take a hex key and let it run just behind it, just to make sure that everything will come out, so I don't have anything in the engine whenever I put it together. Make sure after you put the magnetos on, you also got the small washer on there. Clean out. So here is the primary chain system, and it's just make sure that everything is sitting exactly as you had it before, and put it one in one piece. I haven't moved any of the teeth on the chain, so therefore I know the same wear and tear is going to work now as it was before. It's got a new axle to go on. I'll just clean a little bit first, and then I'm going to go ahead and put it back in, but it's going to go in one big piece like this. There we go. Nice and dandy. Just take your time, don't rush it. If something doesn't feel right, then there's probably something that is not right. So just make sure you take your time and get the chain with you on the right side here as well. There we go. The adjustment we'll do afterwards. There we go. So the Teflon goes underneath here. Take your time. If it doesn't feel right, back up, have a look. What is it that I'm doing wrong, or whatever it might be. So the clutch hub nut, I'm going to give it a little bit of red Loctite, and the tough one, and also temperature wise the right one. And then I'm going to tighten it up to specifications according to the manual. To tighten it, you have to go ahead and go anti-clockwise, counterclockwise. That's to tighten it. Like almost done with the primary side. Got all the different bolts here tightened up to the specs according to the manual and so forth as well. Starters installed, the different pins and everything else is set in there. So now we're just going to close up this part. So just a quick inspection before we take it off the jacks. It looks pretty good so far. Day after, just installed the whole Ultima 6 and the Harley, which I have in front of me, and I might have a few adjustments to do. My problem is now that when I turn the ignition on, I got neutral indication, which is fine, but I also get that neutral indication coming up when I go through 4th gear. Now we actually located the problem with the neutral indication in 4th speed or 4th gear. The problem is that I got a newer, apparently Harley, and there's a notice on the new kind of instructions to install these things. It apparently did not come in my box, so therefore I've been looking into it, and I figured out that I need to go ahead and take out the shifter drum again, because apparently it activates the safety or neutral switch in 4th speed, and therefore I have to go ahead and grind out a little bit and remove that little activation knot that's in there, and once that's done, then it should be all sorted out. So let's see if we can do that. So here is the shifter drum, and basically here, this is the This is basically where the problem is. Where you need to go ahead and kind of drill it out or grind it out somehow. So make sure it's completely even. So this is my new neutral position that's grinded off right there. Can be hard to see, but that's actually where it is. So now it should give me an indication of neutral when I'm in 4th gear. So here we are testing out the new 6-speed from Ultima. It's finally completed. I'm very happy. Engine is running. It's a neutral. Let's try it out. Very happy with it, extremely happy with it. It runs really nice. It's got the neutral lights in order. I got all the gears are in the right place. Now it's just a matter of going out and have a few hours of fun on it. I'm going to drive it 300 miles, then I'm going to drain the oil and transmission case, check the chip detectors for some metal debris or whatever it might be, and then I'm going to put some new transmission oil on it. Whereafter I'm going to drive another close to about maybe 5 or 1,000 miles, and then that should be the end of it. And now it should be completed by then. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, and also hit the notification bell. It'll help a lot of people out, and thanks for watching.